Singapore is setting aside an extra $48 billion to fight the impact of the COVID-19 outbreak. That's on top of the $6.4 billion the government committed in the national budget just last month to support businesses and households. Total expenditure is now nearly $53 billion. That's Singapore dollars. So the government will draw from past reserves to fund the package. It's only the second time in Singapore's history that's happened. All political office holders in Singapore will also take a 2-month pay cut, on top of the 1 month announced earlier, to show solidarity with Singaporeans. Vanessa Lim with more.
Singapore is facing an unprecedented crisis due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and current economic outlook. Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Heng Keat said it's likely this will be the worst economic contraction in the country's history. He said the extraordinary situation calls for extraordinary measures.
Today, I will introduce measures worth over $48 billion in this resilience budget to deal decisively with the situation at hand. This is over 7 times of the first tranche. Altogether, we are dedicating close to $55 billion to support our people in this battle, amounting to 11% of our GDP. This is a landmark package and a necessary response to a unique situation.
The landmark package pushes the Republic's overall budget deficit for 2020 to a record $39.2 billion. Now that's 4 times of what it previously estimated about a month ago. As the country is facing a confluence of multiple external shocks, which Mr. Heng described as a black swan event that comes only once every few decades, the government will be drawing on the country's past reserves. President Halimah Yacob has given her in-principle support for $17 billion to be drawn from the country's past reserves. Her message was delivered by Speaker of Parliament Chuan-Jin.
Our reserves were built up over the years through prudent spending and were set aside precisely to cater for rainy days. The situation we're heading into looks more like a thunderstorm and not just a drizzle. We need to do our utmost to help our businesses and people quickly. It is a matter of survival.
Over 40% of the resilience budget will be used to help companies with their credit. $20 billion will be set aside as loan capital to support businesses with strong capabilities and to catalyze private sector loans.
As the situation is fluid, we'll seek to provide help where credit needs are more acute. Concurrently, MAS is working with banks and insurers to see how best to help businesses and individuals facing cash flow challenges with their loan obligations and insurance premium payments. Details of these measures will be announced by MAS and the industry later. All these measures deal with helping people financially.
To ease cash flow, the government will grant an automatic 3-month deferment of income tax payments for companies and self-employed persons. For companies, income tax payments will start from July, and for self-employed persons in August. This is in addition to measures announced last month, such as enhancements to the wage credit and job support scheme, which will flow over $16 billion into the hands of businesses by October. Besides this, the government will do more to help lower costs for businesses. Non-residential properties such as industrial buildings and offices, which were previously not eligible for property tax rebates, will now receive a 30% rebate. Rebates for other properties, especially those that have been badly affected by the pandemic, will also be increased.
I strongly urge landlords to fully pass on the rebates to tenants by reducing renters to directly ease the cash flow and cost pressures faced by tenants. Many businesses have pointed out that it will be a lose-lose situation if landlords do not support their tenants. After all, if tenants fail, the properties will be empty. So my message to landlords is, do your part, chip in, and give additional help to tenants who are more badly hit.
Job seekers will also receive help, with about 10,000 jobs to be created over the next 1 year under a new initiative called SG United Jobs. Sectors most directly affected by COVID-19, including tourism, arts and culture, and aviation will get additional help in the form of wage offsets and funding for upskilling. The government is paying special attention to the aviation industry, which has been badly hit by the pandemic. A $350 million support package has been introduced to fund measures such as rebates on landing and parking charges and rental relief.
Our aviation sector has significant linkages to the rest of our economy. If it collapses in a crisis, it will be very hard for the aviation industries to rebuild after the crisis is over, and the recovery of the rest of the economy will be impeded. This will also allow Singapore to retain a minimum level of connectivity to the world even during the pandemic. This is critical to enable overseas Singaporeans to return home and keep our supply lines for essential goods open.
And help is at hand to ensure that national carrier Singapore Airlines remains airborne.
I've been informed that SIA is considering a corporate action supported by Temasek Holdings and will be making an announcement in due course. I welcome Temasek's decision to lend support to SIA. SIA is an outstanding airline and a strategic asset for Singapore. Through the government's support for the aviation sector, and if necessary, more direct support measures, we will make sure that SIA is able to come through this in good shape.
A portion of the resilience budget, about $3 billion, will also go towards providing more help for households to cope with their expenses in the form of cash payouts and grocery vouchers. Ending his speech, Mr. Heng announced that all political office holders in Singapore will take a 2-month pay cut on top of the 1 month announced earlier, bringing the total pay cut to 3 months. The President, Speaker and Deputy Speakers will join in as well. He said it's to acknowledge frontline workers and the sacrifices made in the fight against COVID-19.
We will stand with our fellow Singaporeans to look out and care for one another at a time of fear and anxiety. We will work with our people and institutions around the world to combat this global threat. This is the essence of who we are as a nation. This is the essence of who we are as a people. This is SG United. This is SG Together. I'm confident that together we will ride through this storm and emerge even stronger. Thank you. Thank you.
Later on Asia Tonight, we'll have more from Deputy Prime Minister Heng on what's in store for workers and businesses, plus a closer look at the labour movement's reaction to Singapore's resilience budget.